Okay.
Welcome, Ogrons, Gorillas, and future selves, to the 106th production of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 13th of May, 2015, and featuring Day of the Daleks by Lewis Marks. I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and with me are Mad Matt Winchell,
Hello.
Randy Ronson McCulloch,
Always a pleasure.
Aaron Romeo Moon Burke,
Chocolate!
and Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
Chocolate would be nice.
Aaron, do I have to take the chocolate away?
No, some of it might be getting grown into my blanket.
No chocolate unless you're sharing with all of us.
Yeah.
What's the process?
I mean,
I got concerned when she mentioned she had gotten something I'd asked her to get and a few candy bars for herself. The term "a few" was used.
just a couple of Ritter Sports bars with the biscuit baked into them.
All right.
All right, moving on from chocolate, I guess Randy's kicking us off with the news.
Yeah, we should go on to the news before Aaron comes down from the chocolate high.
Well, it's getting kind of mashed into the blanket anyway. Looks like he'll be doing laundry soon.
I just washed those. Anyway, many news sites reported that Doctor Who author Terrance Dicks turned 80 this week. They are in error. And we also missed this one. He apparently turned 80 on the 14th of April, so almost a month ago. So we here at an Unearthly Podcast will like to wish him a belated happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Terry.
Terrance Dicks is one of the writers from the third and fourth Doctor era, and is one of the biggest Doctor Who novelization writers, having done, I think, probably about a third of the episode to novel conversions for Target books back in the 70s and 80s. At 80, of course, he has hit our level of a good run, and I think he is actually retired at this point.
Sort of. He'll still pop up for things.
So feel free to die at any time, Mr. Dix.
Oi.
Had a good run.
I was going to say feel free to publish novelizations of recent episodes, but
yeah,
whatever floats your boat, I guess.
Well, I don't think they make novelizations of New Who.
No,
They
I
do
haven't-
New Who,
I haven't
but not
really
the
seen any.
novelizations of the actual stories, no.
no, they've had like plenty of filler stories and stuff, and extra sided.
Then again, considering how easy it is to get a hold of New Who, I guess the point of novelizations has pretty much passed its heyday.
Yeah, that was kind of the point, was back when the novelizations were coming out, they hadn't even conceived of VHS as a format for putting out these classic episodes yet. So once you've seen it, the only way you were supposed to be able to get a hold of it after that was the novelization form. Thus said, even after the VHS era came out, they decided to go ahead and complete as many of the novelizations as they could, because, why have it incomplete for people that, just wanted a complete collection? We did announce a while ago that City of Death would finally be getting its novelization sometime in the near future. And I believe that's going to be one of the last novelizations made.
Are there any
Terrance
stories
Dicks,
from the
by the
black
way.
and white era that haven't been novelized yet?
Not that I'm aware of. I cannot think of a single one that has not been put into
Maybe Tribe of Gum.
Nope. I have that one.
That probably been made.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's
so there
called
are
Doctor
two
Who and an
origin
Unearthly
novels.
Child.
Okay,
What's that?
because I know Because I know that, from what I understand, An Unearthly Child was folded into the Daleks novelization, wasn't it?
Nope.
No.
Unless they did that in the pre-Target book era, which is possible, but most of those were third
maybe.
and fourth Doctor stories. But the official Target novelization, Doctor Who, An Unearthly Child, is basically An Unearthly Child and Tribe of Gum.
Gotcha. Then again, I think Doctor Who and the Daleks might have been the first novelization, so they might have done Unearthly Child after the fact.
It's hard to tell because there was...
That's me trying to remember off the top of my head. That's not me looking at the source.
There was a group that did the novelizations before Target books. I cannot remember the name of it. I have a few, but I'm not about to traipse through my paperback books looking for them. And I don't remember that one being in there.
Okay, I'm thinking, sorry, Doctor Who in an Exciting Adventure with the Daleks is what I meant to say, which was in 1964, so that probably would have been pre-Target, written by David Whitaker. By publisher was Frederick Muller Ltd. And Target. Okay, I think Target Books republished it later on.
Yeah, because Target published Doctor Who and the Daleks by David Whitaker, the 2nd of May, 1973.
Yep. And then BBC Books republished it again in 2011.
Yeah, because they kept changing hands. But if you look at it, the bulk of the Doctor Who novelizations were done were done by Target, ranging from 73 through 94. But I don't even
Either
see
way, largely pre-VHS and pretty much entirely pre-DVD. And definitely pre-Netflix.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, now because of Netflix and stuff, they don't bother with novelizations because it is so easy to get a hold of something once it's been out for about a year.
So move on to our next Thursday.
Interestingly enough, Sarah Jane Adventures apparently got novelizations.
That makes sense for considering the junior novelization format works very well with that target audience.
All right. Well, I think we've covered this one ahead, so why don't we go ahead and hand it over to Aaron?
Okay. Well, May 12th was Catherine Tate's birthday. She turned 48, and we'd like to thank you, thank you for her contributions to Doctor Who, and wish her a happy birthday.
I think you might have just aged her a year.
I know, because it took about a year for Randy to get through his topic.
Ouch!
Oh,
Well, you really tangented there really badly, by the way. Because this is a birthday, we didn't need to go on and on about the novels.
Somebody doesn't want any more tuna salad, I see.
No, but she'll eat you if she thinks you're chocolate.
By the way, I'm just going to wrap myself up in the blankets tonight and just kind of bathe in the chocolate.
All right.
Alrighty.
So let's move on to Series 9 news.
Okay. The news is that despite being killed by the Master, the unit scientist Osgood, played by Ingrid Oliver, will be appearing in the upcoming series in a two-part story featuring the Zygons.
I think I got this one figured out.
You do?
Okay.
Okay. I didn't know it had to be figured out.
It didn't occur to me until I read this article a couple days ago. If you remember back in Day of the Doctor, when we left the unit crew, there were 2 Osgoods at that particular moment.
Oh, right.
The only thing is, it would be really weird if the Zygon is being menaced by the Zygons.
My favorite part of the... Oh, I'm sorry.
there's nothing to say that the Osgood that was killed by Missy wasn't the Zygon.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Other than the fact that that would mean that Moffat was lying to... Yeah, I don't need to finish that sentence.
Moffat's a troll. Troll.
I like how this says, Stephen Moffat asserted her death was necessary to emphasize the immorality and ruthless nature of the Master. Yes, because that clearly needed to be established.
Well, to be fair, the Master was... That was the first brutal thing the Master did in New Who.
Rule number 1, Stephen Moffat lies.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that said, I do kind of like the idea if this story is actually somehow set between Day of the Doctor and Dark Water for Osgood and Unit, and just out of that timeline for the Doctor.
I don't know. That gets kind of wonky. That seriously starts getting kind of wonky with that kind of thing.
It still wouldn't be the strangest
It's
thing.
one of the reasons they didn't start doing that with Unit. Back when the Fourth Doctor, when the Third Doctor got his TARDIS and everything, was they thought that would start getting people lost. And I kind of feel the same way.
They did it with the Second Doctor showing up in 1980s Unit HQ.
Yes, but you only saw that as in chronological order from Unit's perspective. You didn't see it in 1967.
Sure.
Anywho.
That brings us to me, I think.
Oh.
Yes. All right. The current comic publisher, Titan Comics, has announced a summer event in the form of a 5-part special miniseries. Originally, there was some mystery to this, as they were discussing David Tennant, Matt Smith, and Peter Capaldi, which are the 3 Doctors in the current ongoing Doctor Who comics, with labels above the top saying 4 Doctors. A few days later, they did announce that the 4th Doctor in this miniseries is the War Doctor. So, I guess Titan is finished with the 9th Doctor for the time being. But this is a story written by Paul Cornell and illustrated by Neil Edwards, which will be published weekly rather than monthly, starting on the 12th of August. So, so basically it's a build-up to Series 9 type of deal there.
Probably.
So, more PR.
That's really all there is to say about that.
Yeah, more PR for Series 9 in the form of comics.
Yep.
All right, so the British Academy of Film and Television Arts, BAFTA, in this particular case, BAFTA Simure Cardiff, will hold a special.
That?
I have no idea. Do I look like I speak Welsh?
Well, you said it so confidently.
Does anyone know?
I look at it.
Look.
I look at it.
Like
I
they
pronounce
speak
it
Welsh.
phonetically. I just act like I know what I sound like. I know what I'm talking about. Any Welsh that are offended by the way I said that, by the way, I apologize. I do not speak Welsh. Anyway, they're holding a special anniversary event in New York City for 10 years of New Doctor Who. It is to be held tomorrow, and it is going to have a big screen showing of Listen. The screening is going to be followed by Q&A with Stephen Moffat, and will be preceded by a Penderyn whiskey and Welsh cheese and wine reception. Wow. Hannah Rabel, the director of Banter, said, "We are very excited to be co-hosting this celebratory event in New York, which will be an opportunity to showcase the talent, skills, and locations and innovation of the Welsh creative industry's talent working on the Doctor Who series in Wales. With million fans around the world and significant viewing figures in the U.S. on BBC America, we felt the 10-year anniversary was a great occasion to toast the team behind the franchise and offer U.S. industry practitioners an insight into the way the series has developed as well as an overview of the creative industry sector in Wales. Charles Tremaine, chairman BAFTA New York, said, Doctor Who, there's BAFTA New York? Sorry, that just kind of made me raise an eyebrow.
There's
Doctor Who
everything
is such
in
an
New York.
iconic part of British television culture that it's always a privilege to celebrate its enduring success here in New York. The last 10 years since the relaunch in Cardiff have been among the most memorable of its many years on air. Apart from some great backstage stories, it'll be great to hear from Stephen how they keep Doctor Who so fresh and part of the zeitgeist around the world. Stephen Moffat said, I loved Doctor Who on screen long before I ever worked on it, just as I loved New York in the movies long before I ever got to go there. It will be a pleasure to combine both fantasies. Cardiff Business Council, sponsors of the event, will be hosting a reception to promote the capital city as the gateway to Wales, a country that has been significant increases in production of film, television, games, and commercials in recent years. Cardiff Business Council Chairman Nigel Roberts said, Cardiff is an international capital city, and we are delighted to take our place on the world stage at every opportunity to promote our capital city region and the whole of our country, Wales. Creative industries forms a big part of our successful economy, and we want Cardiff to be like the Doctor, at the center of the universe. We are proud to be the home of Doctor Who, and we are looking forward to meeting with the movers and shakers of New York at this prestigious event. Ken Poole, the head of economic development for the City of Cardiff Council and director, Cardiff Business Council, said, working with our partners in the Business Council, the Council is committed to raising our international profile to investigate investment to the Welsh capital. We have an excellent track record in attracting the creative industry to Cardiff with the success of the Doctor Who experience, Sherlock, Torchwood, and Casualty, that's Casualty, as well as recent news that Pinewood has set up in Cardiff. The creative industry is the fastest moving sector in Wales. Around a third of Welsh creative industry jobs are based in Cardiff, with over 6,000 jobs in the capital. We will continue to embrace every opportunity to show what Cardiff has to offer, further establishing the fastest growing European capital city on the world stage.
Yada 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 and some other
Yeah,
stuff.
it's a lot of PR. It's just surprising that Cardiff is putting so much investment into an event in New York City.
I see
At
Catherine
the-
Tate has aged another year.
Oh man.
But what's also kind of interesting, though, is that this is really showing that they're catering to the U.S. market.
Yes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
That's where a lot of the
Well-
money is.
Well, what I mean is, it's Doctor Who has been such a British thing, and it's, it's like I said a couple of weeks ago with the musical experience actually having dates in America. Up until 2010, we were a footnote on the BBC's ledger boards that, yes, they sell some Doctor Who over here, but that was about it. But ever since 2010, and I do think Stephen Moffat has a little bit to do with this, they have been paying more and more attention to the United States. And that's good to see.
Well, that's about all we can say about that.
Yep.
Boink.
All right. So up next, Portal, Doctor Who, The Simpsons, and more confirmed for Lego Dimensions. Lego Dimensions, Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment's crossover Toys to Life video game will get add-on packs based on The Simpsons, Doctor Who, Jurassic Park, Scooby-Doo, and Valve's Portal 2, according to files posted by Lego. As spotted by Brick Set Building Instructions PDF, published by Lego for an upcoming Lego Dimensions set based on Back to the Future, shows images of fun packs, team packs, and level packs for the above properties. Those characters leaked via online retailers earlier this month. A level pack based on The Simpsons includes Homer, the Simpsons family car, and their television set. Additional The Simpsons fun packs include Bart and Krusty the Clown, each with their own vehicle. Doctor Who will get a level pack featuring the 12th Doctor, a TARDIS, and K9. That just kind of blew my mind. Why? Okay, whatever.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah,
Well,
that's true.
it
I can
seems
always
weird
go
to
with more
have the 12th
K9.
Doctor and K9
Yeah, wouldn't it be like the fourth Doctor at least, or maybe Sarah Jane in like maybe the 10th Doctor or something?
Yeah,
Maybe it's a
the
series
12th
time
Doctor's had
spoiler.
nothing to do with K9, unless that's a spoiler for something going to happen this season.
Is this
Oops.
Doctor considered the 12th, or is he considered the 13th?
He's still
He's
considered the
called the
12th.
12th.
He's
Okay.
the 12th. He's the 14th body, or the 14th incarnation, but he is the 12th Doctor.
Okay. While Portal 2 level pack features Chell, a turret, and a companion cube, the Jurassic World team pack will include Chris Pratt's character, a velociraptor, and a security guard, while Scooby-Doo team pack will feature Shaggy, Scooby, the Mystery Machine van, and a very large sandwich.
Very large. It's larger than both characters.
Sandwich. Hey, never argue with Sandwich.
Lego's building instructions also show off characters from previously confirmed properties: the Lego Movie, The Wizard of Oz, Ninjago, The Lord of the Rings, and superheroes from the DC Universe.
So, in other words, everything is awesome.
So, wait, this is pretty much Lego is doing the Amiibo slash Infinity slash.
Yes.
What was the thing that started this all?
Spyro, Skywards, or whatever thing.
Skylanders. The Skylanders thing. So you buy the toys, plug it into your little video game.
Well, essentially, from what I've seen in the commercial, at least, the idea is that you get to buy little Legos. They'll come on stands, and you can then swipe your Legos, or actually place your Legos inside of a little light-up device, and then you can actually use your Legos in the video game.
But they're still Legos that you can still use as Legos.
As far as I'm aware, yes.
Okay.
So they are still actually toys. You can still play with them if you want to. You just have to put them back on the stand to use them in the game.
Unlike most of the other ones that were mentioned, which are essentially just figurines that plug in to become a game and add on to the game.
Yes.
Okay.
So, Legos got you all beat, bitches.
Yep, that is true. Their toys are actually a toy.
Well, that's good.
Yay.
Hooray. Yes. So, that's
can
good
you
news.
play Super Smash Brothers with them?
Who wants Smash Brothers when you can play a Lego game on PC? Because as far as I'm aware, this is also going to be for PC.
Okay.
It's going to be for pretty much every single system because, again, it is Lego. Adapt, rebuild, improve.
We'll see.
Yes. Indeed.
All right, Tim, go ahead.
All right. Next month on June 26, BBC iPlayer is going to cease functioning.
Oh god.
The global version of BBC iPlayer is going to cease functioning. That is, the service which allows viewers outside the UK to watch BBC programs, including Doctor Who, for a subscription fee, is going to end.
Interesting thing is, before this article, I wasn't aware that there was a global option for iPlayer.
There is, but continue, Tim.
Yep. It was available in Western Europe, Australia, and Canada, although it never launched in the United States due to conflicts
that's why. Okay.
with some pay TV channels which carry BBC America.
Mm-hmm.
The closure was expected after BBC Worldwide announced in 2013 it intended to pull support for the global iPlayer, saying it would instead focus on making material available via the BBC.com website. The users have been notified of the switch off, and auto-renewing subscriptions are being cancelled. In a statement BBC Worldwide issued, they said, "We would like to thank all of our subscribers for using the service. We are now developing plans to launch new digital services across multiple devices."
Yeah, this is almost a piece of non-news because, as you said, they had announced this 2 years ago. And I believe we actually reported that at the time. But again, this being 2 years ago...
It's been a while.
Yeah,
who can remember what happened 2 years ago?
It's...
Apparently Moffat can't.
Again, what this means to North American people is absolutely nothing.
It's mostly Aussies in the UK.
Mostly, like they said, what this was is for people that didn't catch the show. that were out of the country, whatever, they could log in by this special service. If they had purchased their license, they could get the BBC iPlayer for free. But if they were out of the country for extended times, years, they could then pay a equivalent of a licensing fee to be able to get the iPlayer on their system. But apparently, BBC is looking for another way of doing this because
Another
it
way that
just
might better benefit them.
Yeah, I don't think this was making them enough money. The overhead was not making it up with the profits, or they were just getting so annoying because of having to keep locking everything down to North America only. I remember a few years ago trying to even click on little video links on the Doctor Who website, and I'd get that this is not available in your country because it was on iPlayer. Eventually, they around 2010 again, they tore that out and made sure that everything that went on that was global. And hopefully, they're looking for some other way of getting Doctor Who and other shows to these people that are in places like Czechoslovakia or Germany or whatever.
By the way, I would suggest altering your microphone or something a little bit. I keep hearing your fan really loud.
This is kind of things that I should be told before the podcast.
We did tell you.
You didn't do anything.
Yeah, we told you before.
All right. So now we're on to general sci-fi news.
Yeah, so
Since
that
we
moves
have
us
about
on
15
to,
minutes.
Yeah, we've got some time for that. So in general news, to start with, Marvel's Agent Carter, which had sort of been floating in a Schrodinger's place of both being a continuing season and being something that was over, has finally been announced as having a season 2 with a blurb. It will feature Peggy Carter moving to Los Angeles from New York. The description goes, as dedicated to the fight against new atomic age threats in the wake of World War II, Peggy must now journey from New York City to Los Angeles for her most dangerous assignment yet. But even as she discovers new friends, a new home, and perhaps a new love, she's about to find out that the bright lights of the post-war Hollywood mask a more sinister threat to everyone she is sworn to protect.
This kind of means I need to get off my butt and watch season 1.
You mean on your butt?
Whatever. It's still on my DVR. I have not. I tried watching it once and couldn't pay attention to it. So
I hear it's really dry at first.
Yeah, that first episode was exceedingly dry and a little confusing. So I stopped paying attention. But now with all the other shows coming to a conclusion, Arrow just finished tonight. Flash will be over next Tuesday. Gotham's over.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. finished last night.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. finished last night.
A double-length episode.
Mm-hmm.
There's not really much going on for TV now except for Game of Thrones, and I'm really far behind on that too. But speaking of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., originally they were talking about making a spin-off called Mockingbird based on a couple of characters from this season. That spin-off has been canceled. Why, you may ask? The people at ABC and the MCU got together and decided that instead of spinning off these two characters, it would be better to keep them on the main show. The characters in particular, Bobby and Hunter, seem to have caused a popularity resurgence in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and they feel the show has now hit its stride. Therefore, if the formula's working, don't change it. Unless you have to.
So instead it could make the show suffer if they change things too soon.
Yeah. So instead of separating them off and as freelance mercenaries, they're going to go ahead and leave them as members of Shield for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I have a hard enough time getting excited for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., quite frankly. Even the second season has been better than the first one, but yeah.
Yeah,
Still prefer Flash and Arrow.
Yeah, it still pales in comparison to Flash and Arrow. I must admit I have watched
it has less wonky love interest action though, so that's a plus.
Yeah, that's true. There's less of the romantic subplots, though. There's a little bit of that.
Sky hasn't had 6 or 7 boyfriends yet.
No, well, yeah, she's not Ollie Queen, but no. There has been a romantic subplots going on in Agents of Shield. Bobby and Lance are exes. They were married at one point and divorced, apparently.
There's Fitz and Simmons.
Fitz and Simmons have had this bizarre will they or won't they thing going on now.
Sky and Ward and May.
May and her ex.
Mm-hmm.
So it does have its share of romantic.
They never took over the show the same way that they seem to in Arrow and Flash.
Still, at the same time, I physically watched. I sat and watched the ending of Arrow tonight, and I was physically on the edge of my seat and wanting more. When I watched the finale of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm like, okay, that's done. That was literally the difference in attitude. And the ending of Flash is looking like it's going to be that, hair-raising badass, too. It's keeping me watching and keeping me wanting to watch, whereas Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is just like, Gotham was another one, too, that's keeping me on the edge of my seat.
Mm-hmm.
So again, DC is proving itself to be really good at doing TV shows, whereas Marvel is proving itself to only be really good at doing movies at the moment.
Mind you,
I don't know. I've heard a lot of
anything
positive things about Daredevil.
Daredevil, I haven't seen yet.
Daredevil rocked.
But it's also the first Marvel series to actually have one of their heroes feature as a main character so far.
But then again, Daredevil was pretty much Arrow.
Without all of the soap opera love interest stuff.
Kind of.
Well, I'm sure
which is interesting
later.
Considering, who Daredevil is and all the exes he's supposed to have.
I only know of 2 main women that have ever been part of Daredevil's life. They're probably the 2 more popular, but anyway.
But there was a little bit of relationship stuff in Daredevil too.
Yeah, wasn't Fisk going after someone?
Oh yeah,
there was Fisk and somebody. There was Daredevil and the medic. There was kind of sort of a thing going on between Foggy and the secretary, but it never went anywhere. So there's a little bit of.
Was Karen or Elektra part of this yet?
Karen, I believe, was the secretary, but not Elektra was not in it.
Elektra, I think, was very vaguely alluded to in a sort of Easter egg, to the point where if you didn't know what they were talking about, you'd have no clue. I don't even remember the line, but it was like a one-off line where if you're very familiar with the character, you have an idea that she's eventually going to be referenced, but otherwise the line would go over your head.
Essentially, Karen and Elektra are the 2 gals that I know of that usually interlude as possible romantic interests a lot for Matt Murdock.
Yes. Karen's there. She's an integral part of the first season. She's basically functioning as their secretary.
Okay. I think she did work as a secretary originally too.
Yeah, this is really this series is kind of roughly based off early.
It's based off mainly the Frank Miller run.
No, it's not.
The early days.
No, it's not.
Everything
is based off the early Daredevil.
I know everyone keeps saying all the origin stuff in it is from Frank Miller.
No, it's not.
No.
Because Frank Miller basically made Daredevil psychotic. Because Frank Miller is of the opinion
everyone was saying even the costume was from the Frank Miller run.
That might be the case, but the origin stuff is not.
I'm pretty sure the costume became even before Frank Miller, to be honest. But that aside.
All right. So, next.
Catherine Tate ages again.
Don't blame me for that one, because everybody else kept pitching in. Every time I opened my mouth to say, take it away, Aaron, somebody else would say something.
You are aware we're still at the point where we normally would be in the news, right?
Yeah, we still have 6 minutes worth of news time. And 2 articles left to go, including this one.
Okay. DC's Legends of Tomorrow superhero team-up series gets full season order on the CW. Alright, I think this is the one that we've been talking about before with a bunch of the crossover people. It's been rumored for a while now that Warner Brothers and the CW were considering a project that would bring together some of the supporting superhero and possibly super villain characters introduced in its 2 popular series, Arrow and The Flash. Now that project not only has an official title, but a full season order from the network. DC's Legends of Tomorrow will debut this fall, according to the CW. Great, another thing to put on our DVR, hun.
Yeah, I know. It says this fall?
Yeah, this fall.
Okay, that's a little different from what we had heard earlier, where we thought it was going to be a mid-season come-in.
Okay, according to the CW, showcasing a wide range of characters introduced in the 2 aforementioned shows, as well as some new, lesser-known characters from the DC Comics universe. In confirming the series order, the CW described the premise of Legends of Tomorrow as follows. When heroes alone are not enough, the world needs legends. Having seen the future, one he will desperately try to prevent from happening, time-traveling rogue Rip Hunter is tasked with assembling a disparate group of both heroes and villains to confront the unstoppable threat, one in which not only is the planet at stake, but all of time itself. Can this ragtag team defeat an immortal threat unlike anything they have ever known? Among the actors reprising the roles from Arrow or The Flash in the new series will be Brandon Routh as the Atom, Katie Lotz as Canary, Victor Garber as Dr. Martin Stein, one half of the nuclear-powered superhero Firestorm, Dominic Purcell as Heatwave, and Wentworth Miller as Captain Cold. New characters scheduled to debut in this series include the time-traveling Rip Hunter, played by Doctor Who alum Arthur Darvill, as well as Ciara Renee as Hawkgirl, and Franz Dharma as a character named Jay Jackson. Alright, as noting that while all the other characters mentioned in the announcement have DC Comics counterparts, Jay Jackson isn't a name associated with any superhero or supervillain character from that universe. The character is described as a former high school athlete whose pro career was derailed by injury, now making ends meet as an auto mechanic. Great editing, guys. Auto mechanic Jay will come to have a surprising affiliation to the Star Labs crew. According to the character's official bio, there's been speculation that Jay Jackson could either be a brand new character for the series or possibly a version of the DC Comics superheroes Cyborg or Static Shock. Arrow and the Flash producers Greg Berlanti, Andrew Kreisberg, and Sarah Schechter are co-producing the series along with Mark Guggenheim, Eli Stone fame. There's no official premiere date at this point.
But they say this fall. Okay.
Yep, this fall.
So, when in CW style, we can expect the fact that these series will cross over with themselves repeatedly.
Geez, yeah. That's gonna be crazy.
Probably including eventually a triple part event where it's going to start on Arrow or start on the Flash, continue on Arrow, and conclude on this. Because you realize this is probably going to be airing Thursday nights.
Yeah.
So they can do that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
By the way, I was holding this in because I didn't want to interrupt you, but I just had this idea pop in my mind. If Matt Smith has a cameo playing Booster Gold.
It is. I wouldn't. I would. I don't know if to do it this season, but I would expect Booster Gold to eventually make an appearance in this series.
And you know what? I could actually see Matt Smith doing Booster Gold. You'd have to fix the accent a little bit.
I can't. I can't. I don't think Matt can pull off. I'm not sure he can pull off that level of hammy cheese.
I think he can do it. I would argue with that, Randy.
I mean, Booster Gold is like an arrogant Dudley Do-Right.
Yeah, it still screams as something he could do.
I don't know. I don't know if he could smile a Byretson grin.
He's done it a couple times.
Where his smile virtually tings.
Yes. Even in Doctor Who, he's done it at least a couple of times.
I don't know. It might be that's just because my mental image of Booster Gold has been tainted by what I've seen in Justice League Unlimited and DC Universe Online. It's just I'm not mentally seeing him in the role.
I could easily see him doing that as long as he can keep the British accent down a little bit.
We'll see how he does in Terminator.
Yeah, essentially. We will see.
But yeah, it's if he wasn't too old for it, Nathan Fillion would have been the perfect Booster Gold. Because he would play that role with full ham going. He would basically Captain Hammer it, and it would be perfect.
I was kind of thinking if it weren't for the fact that he's already playing a character in this universe, John Barrowman would also be.
John Barrowman would have been a good one too.
Yeah.
All right. Even though we're at time, we have time for one more article.
Okay. The entire Marvel Universe has been cast in one movie. It's going to be epic. Well, Captain America Civil War will feature up to 16 comic book characters. All your heroes, well, besides Thor and Hulk. Because screw them.
Apparently.
Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Avengers 2. Spoiler alert, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Both Thor and Hulk kind of leave at the end of the series. Or at the end of the movie. To go do their own thing. So.
Well, that's not without precedent.
Because, Thor's is probably a lead up to Thor 3, which is due out, I think, next year. Or the year after.
So kind of does Tony Stark too.
Again, yeah, but even though he did in the last movie.
Mm-hmm.
But he's going to come back for this because this is Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be Tony Stark versus Captain America on two sides of a conflict that actually kind of you begin to see in Avengers 2. This is technically This is Avengers 3 without being called Avengers 3.
Yeah.
This is really continuing off of where Avengers 2 ends.
To be fair, Winter Soldier was along the same vein of Avengers 2 without being called Avengers 2.
Mm-hmm.
But this is going to be a lot more because Winter Soldier still only basically dealt with Captain America and Nick Fury. Whereas this is going to be
Black Widow, she was basically the second main character.
Mm-hmm.
But still, it didn't deal with the other Avengers. But at this point, all of the Avengers that haven't left are going to be involved in this. The only people are not going to
some that have not been introduced yet, such as Black Panther, Ant-Man,
who is getting his own movie.
Right. Yeah. Actually, Ant-Man will have come out by this point. It just hasn't yet.
Right.
I'm not. I'm not sure if Agent 13 is a character that's established in the comics or not. It looks like it's Peggy Carter's descendant.
I believe she's been mentioned in either Captain America or Captain America 2.
Something like that, yeah. Something about that
I believe she
mentioned.
was mentioned, but not actually shown, or was in a brief cameo. But yeah, we're getting Falcon,
So we're
Scarlet
getting Baron
Witch.
Zemo.
Yes, we're apparently getting Zemo. This is
Yeah.
gonna be interesting.
Thunderbolt
Again,
Ross.
I'm expecting Zemo is going to be a early villain or something, which will lead into the main plot, which is going to be Civil War. It's going to be about
Maybe. Or maybe he's gonna be the central cause of it.
Who the heck is Zemo?
he's another one of those Hydra guys, I think.
Okay.
No.
He's not in Hydra. He's Captain America villain. Or basically, there's two generations. First, there was his father, who Captain America fought during World War II, and then his son came along and said, "You killed my dad. I'm gonna kill you." And they kept trying to kill him.
This being the MCU, he's probably going to be Hydra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they downplay almost. I'd mentioned this talking to Aaron after Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I would love to see a season where Hydra's not going to be the major note and not going to be their time. I'd love to see them versus Advanced Idea Mechanics, AIM, or one of the other supervillain organizations that would occasionally take up S.H.I.E.L.D.'s time. I would love to see a season of that before going back to Hydra.
The Hand for a season?
Aaron?
I believe AIM was an offshoot of Hydra.
Aaron, that link I just sent, that's Google Images for Zemo. Actually,
I can't open it. God damn you, Windows 8.
damn Windows 8. But essentially, Zemo very quickly is he was a character that was actually I don't remember them being father and son, but he was a character who supposedly at one point might have killed Bucky, but that could have also been an altered or a false story too. And he was a repeated villain just to piss off Captain America.
And he was behind the Thunderbolts.
Anyway. So yeah, we're getting...
one last thing to wrap this up, that is going to be a lot of tangentially related to Doctor Who fans would notice that Martin Freeman is one of the new actors announced along this. His role is only rumored as Everett K. Ross. It could possibly be something else, but he would be best known from the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movies, Hot Fuzz, and as John Watson in BBC's Sherlock.
And of course, William Hurt returning as Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross. One of the few characters I've seen him not act like white bread playing. So, I'm sorry, William Hurt, he's like the mayonnaise of actors. He's bland. But for some reason, he works well as Thunderbolt Ross. I don't get it. Everything else I see him in, bland.
Yeah, the guy in the bottom middle of the second set
as
of
John
pictures.
Robinson in Lost in Space, bland. As Duke Leto Atreides, bland. Thunderbolt Ross, he's good. The hell. Anyway.
Apparently it's a role that speaks to him in that military way.
Yes.
Knowing the Rosses.
Alright, so I think that about covers our general sci-fi news. So let's just move on to our main event.
Yep. So, Day of the Daleks.
Every Dalek must have his day.
Anybody want to take the 5-minute challenge?
No, thank you.
I am willing to give it a try again. I think I'm a little bit better prepared for this one.
Well, you have a better chance at this one because it's only 4 episodes.
As compared to, what was last time, 12?
7.
7?
7, and you took 8 minutes.
So whereas it's just over a minute for each.
Mm-hmm. Whereas
so I have a much better chance of this, yes.
Whereas I did 12 episodes in 5 minutes, so You want to try it?
I will give
And there
my.
are a lot less Daleks this time.
Okay. So
I'll give it
5
another
minute
go.
summary and go.
So the Doctor is trying to fill with his TARDIS again towards the beginning of the story when he is called in by unit to deal with a, and I quote, possible ghost or apparition attacking a government official. This particular government official is trying to get a summit meeting to happen in order to stop pretty much the entire planet from committing World War III. While I'm not sure what his official standing was, but despite the fact that he puts up a front that he was just tired or out of it for some reason that night, he is obviously spooked by something, and his secretary was very much in note of that, which is why she called unit in the first place, especially when talk of ghosts came up. The Doctor is very quickly to believe that it's most likely a time traveler, but from whether they are from the present or the past, from the future or the past, he's not quite sure. Um, However, as they continue to come to the area, the person who attacked this, I guess, senator or something like that, is actually found out in the field, having been attacked and while not yet killed, is in a very bad shape. Taking a look into his weapon, the Doctor very quickly deduces that this is a couple centuries ahead of Earth's normal technology right now, but it's very much. But upon examining it further, he figures out that it's very much made from Earth materials. Um, so the Doctor very quickly figures out that it must be some sort of time based attack on the particular government official here, but can't figure out the reason why. So he and Joe Grant are more or less sitting around waiting for them to actually show up again, and they just so happen to do so. They accidentally, these extra people that show up think that the Doctor is the person they're looking for, but in fact the person they're looking for is in China trying to get the last delegate to try and show up for the summit meeting. The Doctor calms them down, but despite reassuring them that he is not the person they are looking for, they still are going to plan to try and kill this person and have the Doctor tied up and put in the basement. However, while they're planning all of this and trying to kill this particular government agent, the strange dark-skinned people, I'm trying to remember what they were called. I know what they are.
Ogrons.
Ogrons. Ogrons show up and start to attack. Again, showing more further fact that this is not only time-based, but also possibly alien-based as well. The Doctor gets involved with a quick chase after these guerrilla agents after... I just said her name. Brain, why? I'm trying to do speed, and my brain doesn't want to do speed when names. Joe. Joe did pick up one of the devices left by the guerrilla agents and was also sent into the future. The Doctor follows these agents because they apparently have another time device and plans to follow them to at least try and find Joe and bring her back. To which, when he just before he was teleported, he did encounter a number of Daleks and started dodging and weaving between them, trying to keep hidden. He is finally sent to the future and starts to piece together what's going on. First of all, something in the Earth's past, from the future standpoint, is what caused the Earth's downfall. Apparently, the war did break out and killed most of the planet off, leaving them extremely weak and vulnerable, and then something else moved in order to take over. Only a select handful of humans are left to try and govern, while a mass amount of them are more or less used as work slave force. Constantly trying to make materials, to which he figures out very quickly that it is obviously the Daleks that took over. He manages to get himself and Joe Grant back into the present after finding out that the key point was that the building that they were staying at was to explode, killing all the delegates, and thus starting the war. He manages to get back in time and talk to the last guerrilla agent who was there to hold back from exploding the bomb too soon and getting everybody out of the building. As they're doing so, the Daleks also appear with the Ogrons and start to attack. The Doctor has done his job and is forced to flee with Joe as the last guerrilla agent sacrifices himself and kills all the Daleks and the Ogrons in the process. How'd I do?
And you did it in 4 minutes,
Woo!
40 seconds.
Hooray for you.
Oh. If Joe Grant's name just hadn't slipped from my brain for like 30 seconds, that would have been a lot faster.
All right, so we're still ahead of schedule now because Matt did do it in less than 5 minutes.
Zah.
So why don't we go ahead and get on with our... Oh, actually, I wanted to a little bit of background story. Originally, this episode was not supposed to be a Dalek episode.
Not originally, no. It was mostly supposed to be about the guerrilla agents.
The Ogrons.
And the Ogrons were part of it? Okay.
No, well, it was supposed to be about the guerrillas, but the bad guys, the Ogrons were going to be the main bad guys. They were going to be the ones occupying the Earth.
Oh, so they were going to be more Centauri than...
Correct.
Yeah.
The Daleks were going to have a episode, Daleks in London. That was going to be the finale for this season, but the episode wasn't working well. And eventually they decided it was way too close to Dalek invasion of Earth, and they scrapped it.
Yeah, you don't want to repeat yourself too much.
So they then contacted the writer for this and said, can you rewrite this to make the Daleks the bad guys? So he did. And then they sent the script off to Terry Nation, who thumbed through it and basically gave his thumbs up. And it went into production ahead of time. Because of this, because they were expecting the Dalek serial was going to be later in the season, they only had time to get 3, maybe 4 Dalek shells were ready by the time they needed them for filming.
They had 3 Daleks that were complete, that were actually around on the BBC storage units, and then a lower half of one, which is why we get one that's just half for a while.
They had 2 regular Dalek shells, a gold Dalek shell, and there was a red Dalek shell that we saw in the future. There was, but we never saw it move.
Never saw a red one.
I saw it. I don't know. Also, I should mention the fact that there are 2 separate versions of this episode. There is the original, as seen on TV release, that was the VHS release, and then there's the special edition DVD. Which they added additional CGI. It's possible that the red Dalek I saw was CGI.
I would
and they
probably say it was.
exterminated all the Dalek actors and replaced them with Nicholas Briggs. Because
Which
when you need Daleks,
actually is kind of a fix because a lot of the voice acting during the first episode in particular was really hollow and bland.
Regardless, it was, that's kind of a little bit just on what was happening behind the scenes on this.
Yeah.
To give you guys a little bit of an idea of what was going on.
Yeah, I was trying to look up behind the scenes stuff myself, and the resources I saw only said there's only ever 3 Dalek chassis that were complete. So.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering, I swear I saw a red Dalek.
Not in my version.
When the doctor was talking to Daleks, I thought I saw the gold Dalek and a red Dalek opposite the gold Dalek. But I'm wondering if that red Dalek was like a not completed shell that they just.
Scene where he was talking to the Daleks. What scene was that?
It was episode 3 or episode 4. It was also a scene that, by the way, was trunciated. Because in the original version, the Daleks were going to actually tell the Doctor how they managed to exterminate all the human traded Daleks from Evil of the Daleks to bridge the gap between then and this. But that got cut because the episode ran over.
Yeah, would happen.
That particular scene still exists, and I believe it's on the DVD as far as the deleted or extended scenes.
That'd actually be a nice little extra, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting when you consider, based on the timeline, this really has to be kind of a prequel to Dalek Invasion of Earth, considering they're both set in the same century, and one features a doctor running the Daleks off the planet. So it'd be interesting being a sequel to Evil and a prequel to Invasion of Earth.
It is, but at the same time, it's weird because in this one, they're having an extended mining labor camp thing going on that seems to have been going on for years and years and years following
At least
an
3 or 4
atomic
generations, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas you get the opinion that in Invasion of Earth, they've only been invading for like 10, maybe 15 years.
So maybe they didn't wipe out the Daleks as well as they thought.
That's
Maybe.
also
But then again, this entire episode is one ginormous time paradox.
That too. Sort of. Kinda.
Well, it's a you can't rewrite your own timeline sort of paradox. You try to rewrite your own timeline and you end up.
Well,
being
no.
Is the moral?
It's a bootstrap paradox that the Doctor breaks at the end of the episode.
Yes.
The gorillas go back in time to stop the bad guy from, causing World War III. In the process, create the explosion that starts World War III, which they then go back in time to prevent. So it's an endless cyclic paradox, which you've got to ask: how the hell did it get started? How did it get started?
The Daleks.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only reason I could think of is the Daleks somehow set up the bomb.
It has to be the Daleks because they also blatantly left out information for these humans to find to make the time machines and make the weapons they used. The Daleks knew exactly what they were doing and calculated it perfectly, giving off just enough information for the humans to set up this constant circle of pain.
Which is ingenious. Would you actually say this was a master plan?
Don't!
I actually just found the link that Matt gave me for Zemo.
You just finally saw it?
Yeah.
Before I say this, I'm going to prepare myself and protect from any kicks in the dick from Randy. But I'm going to say that this World War III plot is more indication for UNIT to be set in the 80s because we all know that World War III happened in the 1990s when Khan Noonien Singh was the leader of their faction. And therefore, this can lead directly into that.
Bad Bill, no soup for you.
Yes.
No soup for you, especially since World War III is thus averted.
Yes.
Blink.
Anyway.
Blink.
So, what do we like about the episode in general, starting with Matt?
Oh, in general. I like that it's complicated, but not to the point of being convoluted. Some of the previous Dalek stories that we've been doing lately have gotten to so in of themselves that they just kind of get to the point where you just want to do the Monty Python get on with it bit.
Yeah.
The Daleks chasing the Doctor around time and space for half a serial.
Pretty much, yeah. And just having fluff. This was pretty much fluff free as far as I could tell. Maybe little kernels of fluff, but by no means horrible. Oh God, move on with it.
In the black and white era, this would have been a 6 or a 7-parter, definitely.
Yeah, again, I was actually going to mention that they don't have to pad out their episodes anymore. This is the first time that we've reviewed a Dalek episode since they changed the format from 50-some episodes a year, or 50 episodes a year, to 26 essentially. Where when they went from serial to series, if you want to look at it that way, because that happened with the first of Pertwee's seasons, and it took them about a season to get the hang of it, because Pertwee's first season still had a few long episodes like the Silurians.
Yeah, the first season had a bunch of 7-parters because they used
And
all their budget.
then they seemed to get the hang of it. They might have had a couple of hiccups, but they got it pretty well when they started Pertwee's second season. The only mistake they made in that season was
the same
that
villain
it
for
was
every episode.
was that it was so master heavy. I think all of these serials, save like one, were all the master was the bad guy.
I think the episode we're talking about today is the only episode from seasons from Pertwee's second and third seasons together that doesn't have the master. There might be one or two other episodes this season.
I actually looked this up before the podcast, Bill. Third season of Pertwee's actually relatively master light. I think there are 2, maybe 3 serials in this particular season that have the master in it.
So that's what, half the season, or is there more? I forget how many there are per season.
I think it's a third of the season had the master when everything was said and done.
Whereas I know this is the first episode. This is the first serial since Inferno not to feature the master.
Because this one doesn't feature the master. So pretty much the entire third season featured the master. This one doesn't feature the master. Planet of the Daleks doesn't feature the master.
That's because it's a sequel to a master story.
Yes, I was going to say the previous serial, The Space War, which leads into it, does. But I believe the one after this featured the master, but the one after that did not. So that would be at least 3 that were master free.
Enjoy the Simpsons Doctor Who picture I shared, by the way.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome.
Yes.
My internet doesn't want to load, apparently.
That's beautiful.
But so they kind of realized with this one that the big thing about series this particular season is that this was the kickoff of the 10th anniversary season.
Next season, because the 3 Doctors was the 10th anniversary special.
Yes, but this was the lead up to it. This, while it wasn't the 10th, the full season 10, this was still the lead up to the 10th anniversary.
Lead up to it, yeah.
So kind of like what Moffat was doing, they started to feature reoccurring villains.
Or kind of like what JNT did with what was it? Was it 25 or 24?
Something like that. Either way, they started to basically choose different villains for the different things, so they couldn't have the master all the time.
Right.
But we've really tangented and go back to the basic thing. It's because the fact that they only had 26 episodes per season that they're really going, let's make it 4 episodes. Right. And so they're not writing 3 episodes of filler.
Yeah, as compared to the previous seasons were all between 45 and 50 episodes.
Right. So, Tim, what did you like?
In general, I really liked the character arc of the guy who was called the Controller.
Mm-hmm.
The controller or the director, whatever he was, the head of the zone.
Yeah, the head of the zone. Of all the characters who like play the guy who sides with the Daleks, I think he is
the controller, by the way, played by Aubrey Woods.
The controller does this character right because you get to see that he doesn't really believe that the Daleks are trustworthy, but he feels like he's been put in the situation that he has no choice, and that he justifies it to himself, by saying, at least I'm keeping some people alive. And then at the end, he actually sort of like has this, redemption, which is a lot better than other people think. So.
Yes, but then the Daleks kill him because he's ratted out by the senior guard.
Yes, but at least he wasn't a dumb dick.
Yeah, that's true. And it's like redemption equals death in this point, like he died redeemed, he died for your sins.
He died for the
But he
greater
didn't
good.
throw the Supreme Dalek down a ventilator shaft, so it was all pointless.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure if there had been a ventilator shaft, he would have thrown the Supreme Dalek down there.
All right.
You know, ventilator shafts
I
are
gotta
hard to
remember,
come
they
by.
don't have budgets for ventilator shafts in this show.
So, Bill,
All
what
right.
did you like?
I was I was partially going to say if I lived in 1972, I would be saying, "Oh, thank God, it's finally a story without the same villain." Uh, as an actual person watching it from now, I have to say I do like the fact that it is an episode about, or at least heavily featuring, temporal mechanics and what you can and cannot do with time travel. It's something that it's nice to see on Doctor Who that they could honestly do a bit more with, and it's good to see that.
This is one of the few classic Who episodes in which time travel plays an actual crucial part of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And not just a vehicle. I mean, time travel, yes, is featured heavily in The Chase, but really, it wasn't time travel. It was really just used to get them from A to B. Here, it was actually part of the plot. Now, at the same time, Stephen Moffat likes to use a lot of time travel in his writing, because we've kind of mentioned his fondness for paradoxes before. Things like Time Crash, and that sort of thing, where it's all time bouncing back and forth. But this is kind of an early example of that, so it's kind of interesting.
Or it's fresh at this point.
Yep. Aaron, how about you? What did you like in general?
In general, well, it's Matt kind of stole what I was going after, but I liked. Let me see here. I liked the Let me see here. The way the story feeds into the overall mythos for the Daleks. So.
Which it would have fed even better if they'd added that little bit of dialogue.
That last little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But at least they managed to save it, and we have it now on DVD.
Yeah. I definitely get the feeling that Terry Nation was sneaking his Dalek Empire series into slowly feeding it into Doctor Who, and that way it would that way it would live on. So
Terry Nation had virtually nothing to do with this particular episode.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The writer.
He pretty much just basically said, "I'm not going to write a Doctor Who script, but you can have a Doctor Who episode," and that was pretty much his involvement.
Not
Doctor Who Dalek. Sorry. Yeah.
He pretty much he wanted approval.
Yeah. Essentially, he was actually busy writing for another show the entire way through at that time, so he couldn't actually sit down and write the script himself. But he was willing, as long as he got final say in what happened in the script, to let someone else write a Dalek story for him.
He basically wanted to look through the script and basically go, yeah, the Daleks would do that.
And maybe make some tweaks or suggestions for tweaks if need be.
From what I've heard, he didn't have to. He basically
So apparently
read it
the person did a good enough job, he
up.
didn't need to tweak it that much, so ta-da.
I think Terry Nation was writing The Survivors at this point.
Okay.
I think
that was
might be right.
Actually, probably not. Survivors didn't start till 1975. He might have been doing early production work for it, maybe. Because that was actually his series. It was, he was actually the producer on that one.
Mm-hmm.
So that might have been in the early production phases. So he couldn't get time free to, write an episode. Mm-hmm. But he basically, took a weekend, thumbed through the script, and said, okay, that's good. Go with that. There is a lot of rumors out there that Terry Nation had nothing to do with it and was actually pissed that this happened, but
those are rumors.
Those are false rumors.
Accounts, I don't think that doesn't seem to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
He was just busy, and he was happy that the Daleks weren't being made cheap. So
That they
he was
because
fine with
the
it.
one thing Terry Nation didn't like power and evil of the Daleks that much, so he was
Yeah, he didn't
very
like the way
happy.
Whitaker wrote Daleks.
So he was very happy that he was able to look at them and say, yes, they're a threat, they're menacing, this is what they should be doing, awesome, go. You're on the right page.
Yeah, sure, right in the right direction. Go ahead,
Which
film
is
it.
why he never brought the Emperor back.
That probably was why he never brought back. Yeah.
So what I enjoyed in this was the Doctor.
Oh yes.
I
Yes.
am not a huge Third Doctor fan normally, but
That's
watching this episode, I actually enjoyed him in this episode.
He even got the use of the Venusian Aikido, and I could totally butcher
He fired a
Venusian.
gun too, which was kind of interesting.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the Third Doctor has no qualms about weapons.
Yeah, because
He will
really,
shoot a bitch.
the Third Doctor is kind of an action hero. He's
Yes,
kind
he
of
is.
James Bondy meets any other major action star. My brain suddenly died on a good British one.
Kind of
But,
James Bond, kinda Thunderbirds-esque.
But he's really a man of action,
Yes.
and you
Yes.
really saw it in this.
Danger Mouse.
There's a lot of times where Pertwee's Doctor's written as a bit reluctant to go into the action because he'd rather be in his lab puttering with the TARDIS.
Trying to get the TARDIS working, yes, and it does happen quite frequently.
But in this one, he's just like, yes, I want to investigate this. This looks like it could be a problem, and I it's good to see him acting like that. It just made it more enjoyable for me.
I think the overall threat of what this was leveling off to kind of rubbed on him as they were talking about it.
Once he's usually involved in it, he has no qualms doing it. It's that initial over the bump. If somebody else had written the episode, the Doctor would have been like, "Oh well, you're just seeing ghosts, etc. Let me get back to my lab and get some real work done." But they didn't go that way. They went, I think this could be an issue, and that. Even though the guy there is going, it's not an issue. He's going, I think it is.
Just the way the way he's reacting. There's definitely something up here.
Yeah, I liked that whole portion of it, and then the whole action. It became really enjoyable for me. So, Matt, what didn't you like?
Oh, what I didn't like. And we have noted that this was essentially a rush production problem, but yeah, the 3 Daleks really limits things for the poor Daleks. You gotta kind of wonder where all the other mass numbers are in the original version of this episode. As apparently the digital version got a much better ending with a hell of a lot more Daleks.
Not that many, but a bit more. I think they upped like 3 to like 5, maybe 6.
One of the versions I saw upped it even more than that. But again, that was using effects that even I could duplicate, so maybe it was a fan-made version.
Well, ours said the special edition on it, so...
Well,
anyway.
I just saw this on YouTube and it was only a small clip, so it probably was just a fan thing.
Yeah, they probably made a whole bunch more, but no, they made it more reasonable, I think, in the official release. So there was only like 5 or 6, but still, really, 6 Daleks is all you need, if you think about it.
Technically speaking, yes. At least it seems like a sizable number.
Anyway, yeah, the lack of Daleks does become an issue as you're realizing you're dealing with the same 3 all the time. On the other hand, the Daleks themselves didn't look that bad, considering
Oh yeah.
The fact that this was the first time they'd been in color. One of the things I do miss with these particular Dalek models is I miss the iris from the classic Daleks.
Right.
Did you know that these are actually classic Daleks, didn't you?
Well, then they redid the eye stalks.
I think it's only specifically the first serial that had the iris in it.
No,
Yeah.
they were in some of them in the later serials.
So possibly reused parts.
They reused parts, but by this point, all the original eye stalks were gone.
Possibly, yes. Due
So
to
it was
explosions
just
and
the
everything
white
else.
with the little black dot in the center.
Mm-hmm.
And I really missed those. I really missed those irises on the Dalek lenses because it gave the Daleks more emotion in the eye stalk, and they brought them back to an extent when they went to the new series because the 2005 Daleks had that iris too.
Yeah, they all still have the glowing blue eye now that can focus in on things when it wants to.
Yes. But I the fact that occasionally they'd have that iris contract almost all the way in certain points, and they don't do that in the new Who series. That's kind of a disappointment to me. And of course, then we get to the Sentai Daleks, and they have those fake real eye things in the center of the eye stalks that don't do anything really. So I prefer the 2005 ones to those, and I prefer the classic ones to the 2005 ones. So hey.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Tim, what didn't you not like?
In general, okay. I don't know if I disliked anything about this episode enough to like make me hate it, or
No,
or to bring
general
me.
nitpick.
General nitpick
yeah,
was that I thought the look of the Ogrons was rather unimaginative.
A little.
A little.
So.
You
a
know, it
little
was
bit.
just. It was just ape men, and I thought, yeah, you know, it was like that's unspectacular.
Yeah, it's nothing over the top, but for Doctor Who, it wasn't too bad, especially at the time, and the budget they had to pull strings through.
Well,
But
yeah,
it wasn't
I mean,
exactly the most advanced looking either creature.
yeah, I believe they redid the masks slightly by the time of the Space War, but I think they just decided that these little masks were a little bland. They were basically, I think, written in the script as being an eighth band. They're supposed to be basically a partially evolved life form that the Daleks basically enslaved and forced to work as their brute force, basically. Their brute squads are essentially what they're supposed to be. I would have liked to see a little more detail, but like I said, I believe the masks that came up in the Space War had a little more detail in them. They start looking like a little bit like Klingons in a way.
Yeah, kind of. And I do recall them being a little more interesting looking. Maybe it was also the lighting, too, that didn't help it much in this. But I do remember the later ones looking better, and as far as I'm aware, they did not recycle the masks, at least not completely. So at least they weren't looking wonky like the Sartarns would look around the two doctors.
Yeah, because about that time, though, they were also really behind on budget for the BBC when they did the two doctors. Here, I think they just tried to make the masks, and the masks didn't quite fit right. So they remade them when they went to do the Space War.
Well, you gotta remake them for new actors anyway, so.
But, I mean, they decided to go back to the drawing board on them.
Let's fix this, let's fix that. We now know our problems, let's fix them. Get them done in time. Yay, we had time and budget. Woo!
Yes.
All right, Bill, what didn't you like in general?
I find myself in the same place I was with Silver Nemesis, where in this case, the Daleks, on one hand, feel like they could be more, on the other hand, feel extraneous. It's not, it's not surprising looking at this story to realize that it was originally not scripted to include Daleks. And if you completely cut out what is essentially the distraction of the Daleks from this story, it would probably be a more full story. The Daleks are a little better in it than I remembered them being, but they still, it doesn't, it feels like they would live up to their potential more in a separate story, leaving this story on its own.
Kinda, sorta.
All right. Aaron?
For me, the dialogue kind of, I don't know, it seemed to drag a little bit. And I've noticed that with a lot of a lot of the times when I go to watch some of John Pertwee's stuff, I don't know if it's just there's kind of a lack of action sometimes, or sometimes the dialogue just kind of drags. The thing is that there's important information in that dialogue. There's a lot of there's a lot what do you call it, prologue or whatever.
May I name this problem for you, possibly?
Yeah.
I would consider this action movie syndrome. Essentially, you have a show or a movie that has a lot of action, has a lot of really good stuff in it, but every once in a while they have to grind everything to a screeching halt in order to explain things, which the viewers do need explained.
AKA the exposition scene.
Yeah,
Yes.
exposition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
And
think that's
everything suffers from it once in a while.
Yeah, and it's not really something that ruins the show. It's just that every once in a while, and it's like I said, it happens almost always with John Pertwee stuff. I didn't really notice it all that much with Hartnell or Troughton, with the Troughton era or anything like that. But and I don't really notice it with Tom Baker's stuff either.
That's because Matt is correct. Pertwee is a doer.
Yes.
So he actually has to stop, whereas a lot of the other doctors are more verbal warriors.
Yeah.
They will do combat with words, and they can fit that exposition in during the verbal sparring.
Yeah.
Between them, so that it doesn't seem as out of place. And that's the problem, is that the exposition seems out of place because, like I said, Pertwee's a man of action.
Yeah, most of the time Pertwee's a man of action, so he has to suffer the action movie syndrome. Every once in a while, for like, say, half an episode or a quarter of an episode somewhere, he has to slow things down, explain what we are, where we are, and what we're trying to get done here, and then finally come up with a plan and then go into action again.
All right, so what I don't like about this, Joe Grant is an idiot.
If we looked up the word gullible in a dictionary, do you think we'd find a picture of her?
Gullible and naive. It's just
Gullible's not in the dictionary.
Even stuff that, the rest of us get relatively easy, Joe is completely oblivious to, and is far too trusting on anything that goes on. She basically causes no end of trouble just because she decides, oh, they must be the good guys, and is wrong.
Couldn't be so missing the point harder. Thanks,
it's
Joe.
Like, if the doctor wasn't saddled with her from the Brigadier, Joe Grant would not have made companion.
How did she get to become a companion?
Basically, her uncle worked somewhere in the ministry. She was able to finagle her uncle to get her a job as unit, and the Brigadier, instead of being saddled with her, basically handed her off to the doctor as his new assistant, since Liz Shaw left. That's basicly her backstory. And the doctor's just
her explanation
great.
When she first walks onto the set is, Liz Shaw left because, and I quote, you can find someone else to stir your tea for you, or something to that effect.
Because all he needs is someone to hand him test tubes and tell him how brilliant he is, I believe was the...
Oh, that was also part of the lines, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really put Liz Shaw on a bus like that because, she was getting underutilized.
Because they decided, they didn't want a smart companion. They wanted someone for the doctor to explain things to.
They wanted a ditz, and they got it, and it annoys me to no end.
She just needed to be cute and wear some modern clothes, to keep the guy's interest.
Still, at least she didn't have to stoop to Perry levels of eye candy. That wouldn't happen until the 80s.
Well, she also didn't have to stoop as low as to be the screamer all the time either.
At least, she did do her share of screaming at times.
At times, but she didn't weaponize it.
True. Okay, so, scene that you liked, Matt.
Oh, scene that I liked. I'm trying to think of a specific one. I hate having to think of specific scenes. It seems. I think one of the ones I liked in particular was when the gorillas first come in contact with the Doctor. First, there's a little bit of the fighting, then we get to some of the speeching, and then before too long, we're back to the fighting again. It's a little bit of both worlds for the Doctor, and it wasn't as long as some of the other dialogue bits either, so it was decently paced, rather.
All right. Tim, scene that you liked.
Scene that I liked. I liked the scene where the Doctor gets on the dune buggy and he has the very slow chase away from the Ogrons. It made me think of that episode of The Simpsons in which Sideshow Bob escapes in the Wright brothers' plane.
They're very slowly getting away.
And the pilots are just walking, reaching out.
Oh, so now it's like the dune buggy chase in Ega.
Yeah.
Where Richard Keel was almost ready to grab anybody half the time.
Yeah, well, John Pertwee wanted any excuse to get into a vehicle and drive it around a bit.
Yeah, pretty much. And it was probably easy enough to shoot. You just have a bunch of guys in outfits out there chasing after John Pertwee.
All right. So, Bill, what scene did you like the best?
I'm going to go with maybe more for the novelty of it, but the scene where they're analyzing the Doctor's brain and you see the first and second Doctors on the view screen behind him as kind of the first scene of that type to appear in Doctor Who. Obviously, by the time you get through the fourth Doctor era, you'd have had a few, or the fourth and fifth Doctor eras, you'd have had a few scenes like that, but this is really the first one where you really see that, and the first time you see the past Doctors associated with the current one.
Yeah, coincidentally, I think on the special edition release, they updated the pictures because they looked a lot more animated and mobile than I remember those pictures being.
Oh, yeah, then that would definitely have been a special edition because the version I watched, they were still pics.
Yep, and here the eyes were moving around, and they were obviously scenes from episodes that were on DVD, so...
Yeah, they could probably easily do that at that point.
All right, so Aaron, what was your favorite scene?
The revelation of the paradox. I thought that was kind of neat.
That sounds like a good name for an episode.
Revelation of the paradox? Yeah. Somebody write a script and send it to Moffat.
Copyright that title and sell to the BBC. You'll make hundreds.
I feel like, actually, no, more Big Finish. Moffat doesn't like to reveal his paradoxes.
Yeah,
True.
he also
Send
doesn't. He also doesn't take scripts out of the mail.
Yeah, send the Big Finish. They're better people anyway.
All right. So, my favorite scene, for no other reason than it amuses me to no end, is the Doctor in Sir Reginald Styles' house on the overnight trip and basically raiding his pantry and his wine cellar.
Yes.
Yes.
Joey's like, "Are you really just helping yourself?" And he's like, "They said to make ourselves at home."
Said act like the house is ours. You've got to try some of this gorgonzola. It's amazing.
Oh, look, they left salami in the fridge. Excellent.
And then the whole bit with the unit troopers.
Yeah.
And how's the Doctor doing? Well, he's acting like a one-man wine and cheese society.
Do you mind if we get a little bit? Oh, sure. Be right back. Comes back out with some food, and just as Benton is about to eat...
What are you doing, Sergeant Benton?
The other guy comes in, yeah.
The other guy was Mike Yates.
That was Mike. I wasn't sure.
Yates.
Because Mike took Joe's food and used rank as its privileges as his explanation.
Mike Yates is a dick.
Yep.
Yeah, he could be.
I just love that whole scene. I mean, there's no reason to really love it because it's just such a slice of what to expect.
It's such a filler scene, but it's fun.
It's so beautiful.
It's so encompassing.
Every time I think of this episode, this particular serial, it's always that scene that comes to my mind first.
See, when I think of this serial, the first scene that comes to mind is the two doctors and two Joes scene.
Yeah. That would have been my favorite scene. Except they don't really follow up.
Yeah.
Actually, they followed it up in the novelization.
Oh.
They go back to it, but they decided not to film it because the director basically said, well, it's already happened, so don't need to worry about it. Terrence Dicks didn't think so when he wrote the novelization.
Next Generation did it properly.
Yes. Anyway, so what scene didn't you like, Matt?
I think the one scene that made me just outright groan is when I first see the Daleks. They're doing their long speech. They sound really bored doing their long speech. And it's just literally three of them in their own little silvery cardboard box set. Just groan.
Yeah, this
just
is...
ripped me right out of the moment for a while there.
I don't think the two people that did the Dalek voices for this had done them before. Oliver Gilbert and Peter Messeline. They didn't even get Roy Skelton for this, which was kind of disappointing.
No, he came back after this, I think.
Who?
Thank God.
Yeah.
Skelton. I think he came back starting after this serial.
Okay, because you kind of need Roy Skelton at this point. Anyway, the Daleks were a little lackluster here.
I think they warmed up a little bit better throughout the rest of the story, but then that scene in particular, I'm just like, oh God, please no.
I have to
probably the first one they had to air, and that's the first time in 5 years they had to do Dalek voices, so they were a little out of practice.
I have to ask, in the special edition, did they reanimate the Daleks to match Nick Briggs' cadence of speech?
As far as I'm aware, they didn't reanimate it. He actually tried to tie his voice to what was being said in the actual story.
Gotcha.
He was literally word for word resyncing with the original footage. And they were even like using old microphones and everything so he could sound as authentic as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's going to still sound a bit like him, but they tried to do it as old school as they could to get the old feel of the audio.
Yeah. No wonder those Daleks' voices sounded familiar to me. Screw you, Nick Briggs.
You got to hear the nice version of it. Damn you.
Okay.
Need a DVD
Tim,
of this now.
What didn't you like?
The one scene I really didn't like was when when the gorillas are going to kill the Doctor, and they say, "You evil man, I'm going to kill you." And the Doctor says, "Really? Why? You know why." "Actually, no, I don't." "Don't." "Yes, you are the evil man." "Actually, I'm not this evil man." "Man, you are wrong." "No, you are lying." And it's like...
I can prove it. Just look at the newspaper.
Yes, look at my photo. See, I have a driver's license. See, does this say evil man? No, it says doctor.
Speaking of that, how the heck does he get past the DMV? Oh, wait, that's right. He uses John Smith.
Mm-hmm. As far as anyone on Earth is known, he is Director John Smith of Unit.
To be fair, at least in the Unit era, he can get by with my name and position are classified. You must refer to me as the Doctor.
Oh, but if he was there long enough, he probably had a license. I mean, the Doctor's still Britishy, so he can queue.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure there are, top secret licenses that can basically say, I'm authorized by the military to drive, but you're not authorized to know my name.
I'm the Doctor. I'm licensed to kill.
I don't like the way this scene paints the gorillas as people who are like just too stupid to confirm their target when the mission is important.
They're not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be stupid. It's supposed to be fanatical.
Well, they come off as
stupid.
Well,
sometimes fanaticism is stupid.
Well,
They come off as
Yeah.
very, very
I
stupid,
should-
and they don't even know their own target when they're looking at a person in the eye. Are you your target? You look old. You should be our target.
well,
Boom.
at the same time, you got to remember these are gorillas are from 200 years in the future, post an atomic war, where 99% of the records were destroyed, and most of the information they're getting was probably written down from word of mouth.
Bye, Daleks.
I should point out we're in final thoughts time, so we might want to
Not
keep these a
quite,
little.
but yeah. So,
We are closing in.
Bill,
I'm going to say any scene with the guy that they thought the Doctor was, because all of those scenes were ridiculously boring, and I just
Yeah.
could not follow them.
Reginald Style, yeah, he was a bit of a douchebag.
Like, I feel
Yeah,
like a peace
Reginald
conference
was a
should have had
bit
more
of a
than one
dick.
guy in.
All right, Aaron, your least favorite scene?
There's greasy back hair.
Any kind of long-winded dialogue scene with a lot of exposition and not much action.
All right.
So, yeah.
My least favorite scene, I think, was a lot of the tunnel scenes, just because they kind of got boring and kind of the same to me.
Well, at least they were quick. I remember them staying down there at least not too long.
All right, so now it's time for final thoughts, according to my watch. So, Matt, your final thoughts.
Final thoughts. The new characters need a little bit more brushing up than the new monsters, but as we mentioned, they'll get that brushing up eventually. The Daleks, again, we have to blame the fact that they were rushing production too fast and didn't take the time to actually cast some more new Daleks, which they really needed in the story because it really felt empty without more Daleks. Otherwise, the effects overall weren't too bad. We did get a few Dalek kills, which is always good. And the Daleks, once again, were actually making a very smart plan, and if our theories are correct, they were really damn smart, and they made their own time loop to keep causing the downfall of Earth and the invasion of the Daleks. So, kudos, clever. However, you forgot about the Doctor.
Just probably hoping he wasn't going to be there.
And of course, as usual, who happens to bump in anyway.
All right, Tim, your final thoughts?
My final thoughts, this episode serial featured my favorite Doctor, so I already like it. It was well written, well paced. It didn't have that many, like I said, just minor nitpicks here and there, like a few opportunities. But this was a good episode, good story. I mean,
All right, Bill?
It's a fair story that feels like it's a bit rushed. Well, it is a bit rushed, and has a bit more studio interference in the terms of cramming or producer interference, I guess you'd say, in terms of cramming Daleks into a story that otherwise wouldn't have them, rather than having a separate story that was originally planned. Altogether, it's okay. There are definitely parts that don't keep my attention, and there are also some enjoyable moments.
All right, Aaron?
It's pretty good. It's a little bit slow in the dialogue, but it kind of makes up with some of the action at least. Yeah, it does feel kind of rushed, and it is, it is what it is. I think they did an average job, I would say.
All right. Well, the way I look at it, when people talk about Third Doctor Dalek episodes, everybody tends to universally agree that Planet of the Daleks is the best. It is frequently a toss-up between this one and Death to the Daleks, on which is the worst. But, I look at this episode and I like it. I don't think it's the greatest thing Doctor Who has ever come out with, but I like it. I'm fond of it. I enjoy watching it. And I would watch it again. So, ratings. Matt.
I would say, especially compared to some of the torture we've recently been going through, this is far superior to some of the work we've already seen. this, in comparison to some of the slower Dalek stories we've had lately, is a godsend at this point, so I would have to rate this at least a 4. If they had a little more time for budget and fixes, this probably could have easily gotten a 4.5, not a 5.
All right. Tim?
I'm going to give this serial 5 stars, but I'm going to withhold the uber cool Tim Sheridan Golden Seal of Excellence.
Okay.
Oh.
Is that technically your version of a 6?
All right. Bill?
No ass.
I'm going to give this one a solid 3.
Aaron?
I'm with Bill. I'm going to give this one a solid 3 as well.
All right. I am going to have to give this one a 4 with Matt because I do agree that I like this episode. I enjoy it. I don't think it's better than Invasion of Earth, which I gave a 4.5.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's on par with the Daleks, so yeah, a good 4.0, which will, all things consider, make our episode round up to a 3.8.
Yep.
Yes.
Still
And to answer your question, that's not my version of a 6. The seal of excellence is given to something that resonates at the correct frequency.
Like a soft screwdriver.
Yes. Yes. That makes all my inner souls squee in delight.
So it's just
And
a
remember,
little bit shy of that. Yes.
this
Randy?
episode is brought to you by Gorgonzola cheese and good wine.
Oh,
Oh, and by all the way, also Mountain Dew. Because I was chugging that when we were starting.
it's worth noting that as of now, this is essentially our average Dalek episode. Our average from all the Dalek episodes we've rated, both this season and earlier, is a 3.83, with 3.8 being the closest to it. So this is pretty much our middle ground for Dalek stories up to this point.
We found our middle ground. Yes! If it's better than this, it's officially really good.
That is unless Aaron
Daleks
and
can
Tim
get,
give us past ratings on some of the episodes we reviewed without them.
1 star.
As I was saying, which kind of tells us something about how bad Daleks can get sometimes, and we are yet to review some of the worst ones yet. I think.
Oh, good.
So the worst ones we reviewed so far were a 3, and of course the best with an average of 5 between those on the current cast.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm afraid of what we might end up getting with some of these next ones, but we'll see.
Let's see. Where does that actually put Day of the Daleks? That puts it at number 47 on our list of currently standing at 104 or 103 Doctor Who episodes reviewed. Day of the Daleks is number 47. It is between Girl in the Fireplace and Robot of Sherwood.
Oh. Very good company to have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed. Bro.
It is exactly 3 places above the moon base.
Huh.
And 4 places above the Daleks.
Oh my.
Wow.
And 5 places above Tomb of the Cybermen.
Oh my.
Oh my.
Oh my.
How the tomb has fallen apparently. Ouch.
Tomb is at number 52 now.
It's slowly slipping into the later half. Ow. Ow. Oh, poor Tomb. We're gonna have to review Trial of a Time Lord. Don't worry, Tomb, we'll get you back up there.
No, it won't go up there. It'll just wind up with a deeper bottom.
Yes, which means that Tomb of the Cybermen won't be in the bottom half anymore. We'll review all those stories, and Tomb of the Cybermen will just rise right back up.
Well, if we ever do a complete run of Master episodes, we will have to actually watch Trial of a Time Lord.
That would involve reviewing all of season 8 at once. Yeah.
We would definitely be getting our third Doctor in.
Yeah.
Still, that would also put us having to review things like Terror of the Autons.
You want to watch the Autons, don't you, Randy? Don't you?
I own that one on DVD, or I think the con does. Either way, it's
Well, if you enjoy...
that was Nightmare Fuel episode, man. Nightmare Fuel.
If you enjoy listening to us, please consider subscribing to us on YouTube, Twitch, and Mixcloud. You can also follow, like, subscribe, etc., all that stuff on Facebook and Twitter. And if you really want to support us, you can go on over to patreon.com/unearthlypodcast and throw a few cents our way. And, of course, don't forget to join us next week as we, speaking of the Master, we review Frontier in Space, written by Malcolm Holt.
Even though it is a Master episode, it's a lead-in to a Dalek episode. So we figured we should review
That's the spoiler at the end.
Yes, but that's the only... It is the spoiler at the end, but it was a spoiler from 1973? 1972?
Don't tell them about how Psycho starts. Oh no.
So I believe I can mention a 13-year or a not even 33-year-old spoiler, Bill.
Well, they're listening to our podcast to see what happens.
Hey,
then
Bill.
again, we're doing a run of Dalek episodes, so.
Hey, Bill. Soylent Green is people.
That has nothing to do with Doctor Who episodes.
It's like, and now I'm imagining the sequel to Soylent Green, and the reveal is Soylent Green is still people. They didn't change the recipe like they promised.
Hey, Bill. Rosebud was the name of the sled.
Which would matter if we were doing a summary of Citizen Kane.
Rosebud.
All right, later, everybody.